With a great deal of pride and pleasure, I introduce to you the Dean of Baltimore Sportscasters, Vince Bagli, who worked for Channel 11 from 64 through 95, and I'm just so happy to have you here because you broke me in.
Well, you've done quite well yourself, young man. Absolutely.
Vince, let me ask you this. When the team arrived here from St. Louis in 1954, what was it like back then?
Oh, listen, we had found out about it, several months earlier, but it was a kind of a rainy day, April the 15th. And I remember the parade up Charles Street and down and down to the ballpark. And, of course, this was at Memorial Stadium. And we had trucks against Turley, and Turley beat him 3-1. Eddie Rommel was a local guy. He had played ball here in Baltimore and won 27 games for the A's, knuckleball pitcher. But he was the umpire behind the plate. Never heard the first strike, the first pitch of the game, a strike to Chico Carrasquel, I think, was the leadoff hitter for the White Sox. And we won the game. 2 home runs. Vern Stevens hit one. Clint Courtney, scrap iron. Remember him?
Yeah, we saw him just a couple of seconds
He
ago.
was a gritty guy, kind of like Dempsey was. But Dempsey lasted 4 times as long. But anyway, we won the game. The Umbrellas were able to retain their regular position, and we played the game without any further problem with the weather.
What does this team mean to this city for 60 years?
Oh, it meant a whole lot. I mean, it a whole lot then. We didn't have any pro team. The Colts had come the year before, and they had been the original Colts team in '47, but then they were away a couple of years, and we finally got a big league baseball team. I was a fan of the minor league team. I mean, from 1936. I had somebody look it up for me. The 16th of June, we beat Buffalo the first game, lost the second game, a doubleheader. Now, we were without a team. We had basketball teams, we had hockey teams, but we didn't have a baseball team in the big leagues from 1902 to 1954. Not everybody was naturally excited. We won 54 games, losing only 100, and we got better after there, and we've had a wonderful 59 great years.
Vince, let's talk a little bit about the 50s. I mean, Gus Triantos was somewhat my hero as a catcher and watching him when I was a little league player, but Brooks Robinson came along in the mid-50s. I mean, what was it like then with Brooks and Gus and all?
Well, we were building the team. Paul Richards, we worshipped everything he had to say. And he did some good things for us. And we got the Kitty Corps that came along with a real great pitching staff. And we got better. 64, we were close. We really were. Even in 60, Ron Hansen as the Rookie of the Year, along with Brooks, who'd been there a few years. We were close then. We got wiped out late in the season. But 66 was one of the biggest thrills of our life. And if you ask me personally, I think the most memorable thing in my whole career was seeing Brooks play for his whole career and seeing Johnny Unitas in the football field all those years.
And let me ask you this about Frank Robinson, what he meant to the club in '66, taking the Orioles to the first World Championship.
Absolutely. It was like the big get. You remember kids and you played the neighborhood, you hand on the bats and all that stuff. If you got on Frank's team, and we had a fellow named Charlie Pavlos who led our neighborhood gang in Hamilton, and he kept the kids out here, now you're going to choose up. That was the way Frank was when he came to this team. I mean, they were a pretty darn good team, but he was just different. I honestly do think, Tom, I never saw the whole career of Aaron or Mays, as much as we saw the 6 years of Frank. I think Frank was the best player I ever saw. I mean, overall, what he did for the club, what he lifted the spirit of the club and maybe even the abilities of the players. He was a key guy, and I always remember that. Very, very modest. I've told him, and he says, I think Brooks is my favorite player, but Frank, the most important Oriole of the whole time.
For years, Vince used to end his sportscast on Channel 11 saying, "Good night, everybody. It's been a pleasure." And it's always a pleasure to talk with Vince Bagli about Baltimore history, the Orioles history of what this franchise has meant to the city of Baltimore. Vince, many, many thanks. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Tom. That's a pleasure.